In one of my earlier videos, I showed how to move an application completely off of Lovable, take it away from Supabase, and put it over on Railway. But some of you might want to go ahead and take your Lovable app off of Lovable, but keep the database on Supabase. And right now, inside Lovable Cloud, you're not able to do a transition to move the database to your own Supabase account. I'm going to show you how to extract all the information that should be in that database and move it over to your own Supabase account so that you can then move your Lovable app, but keep the Supabase features like auth and row level security and things like that. Let's go ahead and dive in. If we haven't met yet, I'm Courtney. I help businesses and executives figure out how to use AI tools effectively and help people get unstuck if their app isn't working the way they want. If you need help with yours, go ahead and leave a comment or shoot me a message. I'll be happy to help out. For this project, we are going to collect a few pieces of information from our Lovable app. What we have right here is just a simple project management tool that I put together so we'd have some complexity in this migration rather than just a really basic website or something like that. This has a more advanced schema that we have to move over. Here in Lovable, we're going to click this little code icon. And in the back here, we have a few files to pull up. The first thing is going to be this .env file right here. And then we are also going to look for our Supabase folder because Lovable does use Supabase inside Lovable Cloud. That's what's under the hood there. And we're going to look for our migrations. It may be slightly different depending on what application you built here, but there will be roughly this assembly here where you have the Supabase migrations. Sometimes there is a seed file for setting up the database with a lot of test information, test users, test examples, things like that, depending on what you built. And you'll want to find that file as well. In this case, we don't have a seed file. Everything that's in the app, the client projects, tasks, I added in just so we have information there. And then we have our .env. What we're going to do is copy each of these files to our local machine. I have set up on the machine Visual Studio Code, this application right here. You can get it for free. And then I also have Claude Code. That's this one right here. And you do have to have a Claude account to be able to use Claude Code, but you can install that and it's very inexpensive for what you get as far as token usage and everything like that. It's a very powerful coding model. So that's my little stack we're going to use, the AI combination we're going to use for this task. Then I've created just a folder in my computer to put these files in. I named it Lovable Client Hub. And I've opened that folder up inside Visual Studio Code right here. There's nothing in it. So we're going to create files, placeholder files, and then copy that information in. We'll create a new file, name it .env. I have not set this up to GitHub or anything like that. I'm just creating a little folder for handling this migration of the database. There's our .env right there. Then we are going to go back to Lovable, copy everything in and save that. Then the other file that we need is this migrations file right here. So we're going to click in there and Control A or Command A to select everything, Control C or Command C to copy it. We're going to do a new file and name it Supabase _migration.sql. We're going to paste in that information, Control or Command V, and save it. Now we have those two pieces of information. Then up here, we're going to open up Claude Code so we can interact with this. One other thing that you're going to need to do is make an export of all the data in your database because it's going to be difficult to extract all of that. We can set up the new database with the schema and layout that Lovable built, but it won't have any of your information. We need to get that information into the system. What we're going to do is have a backup created. You can ask this question in Lovable, can you please make a psql export of the data in the database so I can have it as a backup file? And Lovable will create this backup for you, and that's available over here in the code. So we're going to go ahead and copy that as well and put that into our system. Go save that information. We've saved this as a database underscore backup.sql. The name of the file doesn't really matter. We just have to know what it is. The next thing you're going to create is this .env.new. And then you're going to go over to Supabase and set yourself up a new project. The size of the project really isn't going to matter if you haven't done a lot with your application, but if you have done a ton with it, you have a lot of information in there, then the size of the database instance that you pick may need to be larger than micro, but we'll start with a micro project. I have a micro project here that we're going to use to test, just micro size. Okay. You can always increase those if needed. We are going to grab a few pieces of information. So we're going to grab the project URL, copy that, put here Supabase URL. And then we are going to grab the API key and paste that in. Then for setup, we also are going to need the secret key here. So we're going to copy that as well. There we have the secret key. Now we have the Supabase URL, the public API key, and the secret key. We're going to write a prompt like this. I have a database in Supabase that has the schema as is in Supabase_migration.sql. That's the file over here. And the access information is in the .env. We also have a database backup SQL with the content that needs to go into the database. Once it is set up, we will need to create a new user, elevate to admin with a SQL script to run in the new Supabase, and then do a migration of ownership of any data from the old user ID to the new Supabase access info is in .env.new. And then we'll finish that up with make the plan to do so. Let's look at this migration plan that has the old database, new database, user info, and the stuff to migrate. And then the ability to sign up a new user account in the new Supabase instance is going to be needed. I think I can add that user through the Supabase auth directly. In fact, we can do that now and save a step right here. Let's go ahead and add that user. So we're going to go to Supabase and click authentication, and we're going to add a user. We'll just use the same user that we had before, but this is going to get a new user ID, and the information in the database is mapped to the old user ID on Lovable's instance. So that's why we're creating a new user. We're going to get the ID for that and then use that to migrate all the information over. We're going to auto confirm this user, create it, and now we have the UID right here. So we're going to copy that, and we're going to put that in here. I've created the new user in the new Supabase with UID and then paste that in. Please proceed. Now here in Claude, we're going to allow it to create some additional files. That's why we have this open in a folder. And we'll go ahead and allow all the edits it needs to make to do this task. So here's our first script that we need. Let's take a look at what's been created so far. So it's created two scripts for us. We can see one here and the other here. We can toggle between them. The first one elevates the user to super admin, and the second one pulls over our information that was in the old database. It gives us instructions here in how to pull these in. What we need to do is first run this migration to set everything up. So we're going to copy that whole thing in. We can see here that Claude assumed we had run this already, which we haven't done. So now that is run, that succeeded, and it should because it worked in Lovable. It was already written for Supabase. And then we will go to this one, paste it in, make sure that's all that's here, run that one. There we are. That is updated. And now we will go to our second one and copy that, paste it in right there. So we have that here and run that. There we are. So that is moved over. We have done that migration. Let's take a look at the information while Claude is thinking. Now, when we go over here to the table editor, we should see that this matches what's in Lovable. So inside Lovable Cloud, we have the database and we have clients, element access, profiles, projects, tasks, user roles. And when we go into the Supabase project, we should see all of those, and they are here. Then we can see the information that was already put in here, projects, tasks, and then user roles. We have a super admin right here. That's the only user that we have in the system. Now that matches correctly. We have moved all of our information over. Now we have our database that we own inside Supabase. And the next thing that you would do if you were migrating this app off, let's go back to my other video about how to migrate this app off of Lovable. And you'd go to that first step where you pull down all the code. But instead of setting up a Railway database, you would use this connection here to connect to the new Supabase. You wouldn't have to do the migration to Railway database. You would use the Supabase and just publish the application by itself wherever you want to host it, because it's just a front end application at that point, and Supabase is handling the rest. So that is how you would do the migration from Lovable Cloud database to your own Supabase, getting all of your data moved over, getting your user pulled over there. If you have multiple users, you would have to go through that authentication process several times here and add multiple users and then collect all of those IDs and have all of them transitioned over. But it's not a huge lift. It's just a repetitive task to change all of them over. Now our database is migrated. That's how you unlock your application from Lovable Cloud while keeping all of the features in Supabase. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and follow. And if you need help building or finishing your app, click the link in my bio to book a one-on-one Zoom call to take a look at your project.